What's up YouTube? My name is Caden and you're watching Gas at Garage. Today we are engine swapping my brother's go-kart right here. We're going to be removing that 16 horsepower Briggs and Stratton V-twin engine and we're going to be swapping in this 1000cc Suzuki V-twin motorcycle engine. Yes, you heard that correctly. We are putting 1000 cc's of V-twin Fury into this go-kart. That thing is 123 horsepower and it makes 73 foot-pounds of torque. So this thing is going to be turned into an absolute monster. We're going to be putting the engine right here where the passenger seat is for a mid-engine setup, and it's going to make this thing handle a whole lot better. And let me tell you, this thing is going to be rowdy, to say the least. So this is going to be a fun one, guys. Enjoy the video. All right, guys, so before we can start mocking up that giant Suzuki engine, we first have to remove the engine, CVT and jack shaft, and the passenger seat right here. But what's interesting about this is you actually don't see the Suzuki engine right here, and that's because we are actually going to trade that engine for the Suzuki motorcycle engine. So I am currently filming this right now before I even have the motorcycle engine. And the little intro that you saw at the beginning of the video, I actually will have filmed after filming this. So right now this is kind of weird because I don't actually have the engine right now. But I wanted to film this for you guys just to see what this thing looks like before we put the new engine in it. So we're gonna go ahead and get started by removing the passenger seat and cutting apart all of this hard work that I did to remove this engine to make room for the new driveline setup that I still kind of have to figure out the exact placement of. But let's do one thing at a time and go ahead and get all of this removed. All right, guys, now that the engine is out of the frame, we're gonna go trade this thing for the motorcycle engine. 3, 2, 1. Boom, here is the 1000cc engine that is going in this go-kart. This thing is pretty huge. I will need to take off the stock exhaust on it just because it's so wide and bulky, but it looks like I can attach something to these headers and kind of fabricate some sort of exhaust for this thing. But overall, this thing is mostly complete here. It's got the throttle bodies on it with the whole fuel injection system. It's got a whole lot of wires hanging off of it. It looks like it's got a lot of the sensors. It has the clutch cable right here, which is nice. And the owner of it kept some gloves over the intakes right here. So those are nice and squeaky clean. And this thing looks pretty intact. It looks like everything's here. I will have to get a shifter for it, but it's got the sprocket on it. It's got the oil cooler. It's got basically everything I'm gonna need to be able to hook this thing up. The throttles work right here. It's actually a pretty satisfying mechanism right there. This engine is pretty complete. We do have to buy a wiring harness for it, as well as a radiator and an ECU, and then probably a couple of other miscellaneous things to get this thing working properly. But for right now, let's go ahead and get this thing hoisted up with some ratchet straps and hang it from the roll cage so I can start mocking this thing up in the frame. But first, we actually have to take the exhaust off. So let's go ahead and do that, and then we can start making some mounts for this thing. All right, guys, so I just got this engine just kind of mocked up in here with some straps. Then I also took off both pieces of the exhaust. And let me tell you, I've never actually seen an exhaust this weird shaped and complicated, but I guess it's for like the proper back pressure and stuff like that. So I'll figure out exhaust situation later after the engine's mounted and it's like well wired up and everything. So that'll probably come last. But for right now, this thing is looking pretty cool. And it actually fits. There's like just the right amount of clearance between the side of the case and the seat right here. And then there's also a decent bit of clearance between the frame and this side of the case where the clutch is. And then here's what it looks like from the rear. I still have to kind of get it aligned properly because it's still a little bit off. But I'll do that fine tuning when I go to build the mounts next. I was looking at the mounts on this thing, and I'll make a mount right there to put a through bolt through that thing. And then I'll probably make one that comes off of this bar and goes to this mount right here. And then there's also some mounts on the sides right here and right here. And then there's also this one. So I'll probably make some mounts that come off this and mount to that. And then maybe one or two that come like up to brace the engine on this side, because it also has the mount there, here, and here, just like on the other side. So enough talking right now. Let's go ahead and start getting this thing mounted in the frame. So I had to make these two mounts on the side of the engine completely removable, because if I had welded them directly to the frame, they would be completely in the way if I wanted to ever remove the engine, which I may have to, because this engine has been sitting for quite a few years. I'm not exactly sure how long, but I know it has been sitting, so the clutch may be stuck together, and I may need to end up replacing the clutch on this thing, which will require removing the engine. So it's necessary to make these two mounts completely removable. It's a little bit more work, but it's going to be worth it in the end. It's going to make my job a whole lot easier. Alright guys, so we've got this engine about 75% mounted in the frame here. I've got these two mounts right here that I actually made to be removable so they won't be in the way if I have to take the engine out. And then I also have these two mounts right here and right here. This one I was able to find a bolt to put all the way through the other side, and I'm actually going to make a mount that goes from here up to this frame rail right here, which is what we're going to do next. And then this one down here, I still have to find a bolt that goes all the way through, because this is just a carriage bolt that I had lying around that I just have in there as kind of a, just like a rod almost, just to hold it there. Now the bolts that I could find to put in these holes, including this one right here, are actually banjo bolts for hydraulic brakes, which is not ideal, but they are literally the only bolts that I had that would fit the thread pitch and size of these mounting holes right here. So I do have to run out to Ace Hardware to buy some proper sized bolts for that, but for right now it is holding. So the next thing we're going to do is build the mount that goes there to there, and then I'm also going to build a mount that probably comes off of this point right here and goes up to this hole. And then I'll build some braces that come off of these and go into that, just so the bolt that goes through there will have something to hold on to. So let's go ahead and get those other mounts done. All right, guys, so I think the mounts on this engine are pretty much done. I decided not to build mounts that go to this one right here on either side, just because I already have 7 different mounts that I've made on this engine to hold it, and this thing is solid. It's not going anywhere. And I also ran out to Ace Hardware to grab the proper bolts that I needed for the 4 corner mounts there. So now that all the mounting is done, we can now move on to the jack shaft over here. And the reason we need a jack shaft is 2 things. Number 1, I need to be able to move the chain drive over about probably 8 to 10 inches or however long that distance is, because as you can see, the drive sprocket and the driven sprocket on the axle are nowhere near lined up. So we need a jack shaft to move that over. And also, I need the pivot point of where the jack shaft is to be, or where the chain drive is, to be in line with the pivot point of the swing arm right here. So the jack shaft will solve that issue by running a chain from the drive sprocket on the engine down to the jack shaft, which will be in line with this and prevent chain tension issues when the suspension flexes. So let's go ahead and get this cut apart, just to kind of get it out of the way, and after that we can mount the jack shaft. Alright guys, so I just got half of the jack shaft mounts done. I still have to do the other side for the other bearing, but I got this one all done. I mounted that right there to the engine, along with that bolt down there is the through bolt that goes through that mount for the engine mount. And I welded these two. It is in the way of the exhaust just a little bit, but I can cut the little tack weld right there and rotate the exhaust later when I go to do the exhaust. But something kind of funny I noticed, I don't know if you can hear it, but right there, there's a crack and there's air hissing out of it. You can hear it literally whistling and hissing out. It's kind of weird. I'm assuming it's just from the air inside of the tubing expanding from the heat of the welds, but still, it's kind of funny to have an air leak in your frame. So I'll probably weld that crack up a little bit later. It's not really important right now. So for right now, let's go ahead and get the second set of mounts done for the other bearing. All right, guys, so we got a lot done in this video. We got all of the engine mounts completely done and bolted together and all welded up, and that engine is not going anywhere now. And we also got the jack shaft probably about 80 or 90% mounted. I still have to kind of reinforce this side because just that one piece of angle iron is not going to be enough to hold up to 120 horsepower. And then we did get the chain on right here, but it is very, very loose. So I do have to get a slightly larger sprocket, which is literally the only way to tighten the chain because everything is kind of non-adjustable here. So hopefully that'll fix that issue, but we'll do that in the next video. Also in the next video, we're probably going to start hooking up a radiator on this thing. And then I will also hook up a jump starter to it and see if we can get this engine to spin over, see if the starter works. And then we'll also finish hooking up the rest of the chain right there. I'll put a different size sprocket on the axle because that one is way too small, because we don't need to be going 150 miles an hour in this thing. And then, like I said, we'll hook up the radiator. I might get some air filters as well. And depending on when I get the wiring harness and ECU from eBay that I ordered, that may have to wait till part 3, but we may be able to do it in part 2. But it's one of those things that depends on when stuff gets here from online ordering. So thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. And I will see you in part 2. Thanks for watching.